Mark Rowe, who is from the FBU. He's a national officer, and I think it's really fitting that, you know, he would speak next after Tracy just touched on Grenfell, and we know how, you know, the FBU were attacked. You know, the one group of people that went to help those that on that terrible night were then attacked the way they were. So obviously solidarity from Stand Up to Racism. But Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I hope you can hear me. I had a little bit of a technical problem before. So firstly, greetings and solidarity from firefighters in the Fire Brigade Union. I think I'll just dive straight in relation to the Black Lives Matter movement, if I may. I think at a time when the majority of the mainstream media are reporting mainly negatively about the movement, it's probably a good time to take stock of the simply huge progress, which is going largely unreported, that's being made as a direct result of the recent BLM protests. I want to focus a little bit on the fight and subsequent progress in America, if I may, because there's without doubt a simply unstoppable momentum for cultural and political change stemming from the re-emergence of Black Lives Matter demonstrations this summer, which has been quite extraordinary. But tragically, this re-emergence of the movement has been as a direct result of more murders of Black people by the police. And throughout the communities across the US, portraits of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others are painted on building walls. Signs that read Black Lives Matter are posted in residential and storefront windows where they wouldn't normally have been posted. And we've seen the words Black Lives Matter painted large across city streets and city roads. We've seen statues that venerate racists, segregationists and Confederates being pulled down. And we've seen brands and corporations rushing to acknowledge systematic racism, and that sort of rush to acknowledge it has ranged from strong and lukewarm commitments to addressing structural inequality. We've seen progress as well. The Minneapolis City Council unanimously voted to dismantle its police department, and school districts in Oakland, California, Madison, Wisconsin announced plans to terminate police contracts. So there's absolutely no denying that the largest social movement of the 21st century is entering a significant new chapter. On the 28th of August, a march and convention was held in Washington, and the 28th of August, it was picked as a date because it's a significant date. It was the 57th anniversary of the Civil Rights March to Washington, protesting the murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till. The convention was absolutely packed out and was organised by the Movement for Black Lives, which is a consortium of over 50 Black-led organisations. And their manifesto and what they presented was incredibly strong. It joined the dots amongst issues such as policing, reproductive justice, housing, climate change, immigration, disabled and trans rights, in addition to outlining demands to end the war on Black people. The platform urged the passage of the BREATHE Act, which is federal legislation that will ensure the closure of immigration and customs enforcement detention facilities, ICE, as we know those locations where they hold children in cages. The convention pushed for legislation to defund police departments and to re-establish social programs for the formerly incarcerated. It also called for land reparations for Indigenous communities and Black farmers, electoral justice with the passage of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and advocacy and protection of trans people. So the convention then went on to unveil its multi-pronged political agenda on matters of police brutality and beyond. So when the Black Lives Matter process first captured the nation's attention and spread across America in 2004, due to 3 high-profile police killings at that time, the nation saw several weeks of uprising and sustained protest demanding police reform. That largely then, I wouldn't use the word fizzled out because the work was still ongoing, excuse me, but until 2016, when Trump was elected, the movement moved along in the background. But today the movement is much more decentralized, with a powerful leadership, independence, networks and organizations and individuals challenging all their resources and experience into the movement itself. The activists themselves are a wide range of activists from across the political spectrums, and the conference that was held was rooted in Black feminist thought. I think the demonstration, the size of the demonstration, showed how this is now sort of looked at on a nationwide scale. So there's been a lot of success that we shouldn't ignore. I think the father of Jacob Blake spoke at the end of the convention, saying every black person in the United States is going to stand up. We're going to hold court here today. We're going to hold court on systematic racism against all of us. And I'll close, Chair, in saying this. The widespread global multi-city street protests in the name of Jacob Blake, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor and others may once again claim nationwide consciousness and be reported by the mainstream media for the wrong reasons designed to undermine the movement. But the unseen, deliberative work of activism, organisation, education and of resistance will persist, whether the cameras are actually on or off. We are making huge progress on all fronts, and we shouldn't be downhearted by the negative publicity that is thrown against us all the time. Thank you, Chair.